everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We hope you're all safe and sound out there. We welcome you with affection into the haven, right here in the live studios of the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I just got off the phone with my best friend, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and when I'm around him, I'm beginning to realize what being an old man is, because compared to the pace at which I can move and the pace at which he moves, it's like a generation gap. I'm using that as a joke. I feel fine about it. But if I could only figure out a way to promote the reading of Srila Prabhupada's books like I'm doing, in the way that he's distributing, figuring out how to create a global goal and a global sense of team, and then promoting it to the point of distributing 2 million Bhagavad Gitas within a month, I'd be there. But in the meantime, I'm here, you're here, and we're together. And this is the most intimate, satisfying thing to do. Except for explaining it to others, that's true. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had such strong feelings about the Caitanya-caritämrta. He came up with this poetic, beautiful, profound glorification. He said, in due course, Mahapralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam. But under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, for if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage. Because after the flood has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, we're coming up to the end of chapter 24 of the Madhya-lila. Lord Chaitanya explains the 61 the 61 explanations of the Ätmäräma verse. Specifically, he's in the middle, Lord Chaitanya is, in describing the subject matter for Vaishnava behavior, which will end up being the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Beginning with text 326. Sutta Goswami then requested the Lord, Sanatan Goswami then requested the Lord, please personally tell me how I can write this difficult book about Vaishnava behavior. Please manifest yourself in my heart. Purport. The writing of Vaishnava literatures is not a function for ordinary men. Vaishnava literatures are not mental concoctions. They are all authorized literatures meant to guide those who are going to be Vaishnavas. Under these circumstances, an ordinary man cannot give his own opinion. His opinion must always correspond with the conclusion of the Vedas. Unless one is fully qualified in Vaishnava behavior, and authorized by superior authority, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot write Vaishnava literatures or purports and commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. That was where we started yesterday? Okay. I've just been informed by my fact checker that we just started out where we left off yesterday. And I'm going to check it out. Yes, it's 3:32. I asked him and he said, yes, it's 3:26. Ahem. My fact checker is breaking down on the job over here. Don't mind. Okay. 3:32. Anyway, that was a nice verse to hear again, wasn't it? Very nice. Okay. Here we go again. Take 2. Caitanya-caritämrta, chapter 24, verse 332. We had a lot of big purports yesterday. That's why we didn't do so many verses. Okay. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing the contents of the Hari Bhakti Vilas, beginning with text 332. You should describe how in the morning one should regularly brush his teeth, take his bath, offer prayers to the Lord, and offer obeisances to the spiritual master. You should, excuse me. You should also describe how one should render service to the spiritual master and paint one's body in 12 places with urdhva pundra, tilak, as well as how one should stamp one's body with the holy names of the Lord or the symbols of the Lord, such as the disc and club. 333. After this, you should describe how one should decorate his body with gopi chandan, wear neck beads, collect tulsi leaves from the tulsi tree, cleanse his cloth and the altar, cleanse his own house or apartment, and go to the temple and ring the bell, just to draw the attention of Lord Krishna. 334. Also describe deity worship, wherein one should offer food to Krishna at least 5 times daily, and in due time place him on a bed. You should also describe the process for offering arati and worship of the Lord according to the list of 5, 16, or 50 ingredients. Purport. The 5 ingredients for deity worship are 1, very good scents, 2, very good flowers, 3, incense, 4, a lamp, and 5, something edible. As for Shodespachara, the 16 ingredients, one should 1, provide a sitting place, asana, 2, ask Krishna to sit down, 3, offer argya, 4, offer water to wash the legs, 3, wash the mouth, 6, offer madhuparka, 7, offer water for washing the mouth, 8, bathe the Lord, 9, offer garments, 10, decorate the Lord's body with ornaments, 11, offer sweet scents, 12, offer flowers with good fragrance like the rose or champaka, 13, offer incense, 14, offer a lamp, 15, give good food, and 16, offer prayers. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas 11:127 to 140, there is a vivid description of what is required in deity worship. There are 64 items mentioned. In the temple, worship should be so gorgeous that all 64 items should be available for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it is impossible to get all 64 items. Therefore, we recommend that at least on the first day of installation, all 64 items should be available. When the Lord is established, worship with all 64 items should continue as far as possible. The 64 items are as follows. 1. There must be a big bell hanging in front of the temple room so that whoever comes into the room can ring the bell. This item is called prabodhana, or offering oneself submissively to the Lord. This is the first item. 2. The visitor must chant Jai Shri Radha Govinda or Jai Shri Radha Madhava when he rings the bell. In either case, the word Jaya must be uttered. 3. One should immediately offer obeisances to the Lord, falling down like a stick. 4. There must be regular Mangalarati in the temple during the early morning, an hour and a half before the sun rises. There must be an asana, a sitting place before the altar. This asana is for the spiritual master. 6. Okay, we'll read it from 5 again. 5. There must be an asana, a sitting place before the altar. This asana is for the spiritual master. The disciple brings everything before the spiritual master, and the spiritual master offers everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 6. After Mangalarati, the deity is supposed to wash his teeth by using a twig. Therefore, a twig must be offered. 7. Water must be offered for washing the deity's feet. 8. Arghya should be offered. 9. Water for achaman should be offered. 10. Madhuparka, a small bowl containing madhu, honey, a little ghee, a little water, a little sugar, yogurt and milk should be offered. This is called madhuparka achaman. 11. One should place wooden slippers before the Lord. 12. One should massage the body of the Lord. 13. One should massage the body of the Lord with oil. 14. With a soft wet sponge, one should remove all the oil smeared over the Lord's body. 15. One should bathe the Lord with water in which nicely scented flowers have been soaking for some time. 16. After bathing the body of the Lord with water, one should bathe him with milk. 17. Then one should bathe him with yogurt. 18. Then one should bathe him with ghee. 19. Then one should bathe him with honey. 20. Then one should bathe him with water in which sugar has been dissolved. 21. Then one should wash the deity with water and chant this mantra, Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Riksha Lakshavriteshu Surabir Abhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasam Brahmasevyamanam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. 22. One should dry the entire body of the Lord with a towel. 23. A new dress should be put on the Lord's body. 24. A sacred thread should be placed on his body. 25. Water should be offered for cleansing his mouth, achaman. 26. Nicely scented oils, like liquid sandalwood pulp, should be smeared over the Lord's body. 27. All kinds of ornaments and crowns should be placed on his body. 28. Then one should offer flower garlands and decorative flowers. 29. One should burn incense. 30. Lamps should be offered. 31. Precautions should always be taken so that demons and atheists cannot harm the body of the Lord. 32. Food offerings should be placed before the deity. 33. Spices for chewing should be offered. 34. Betel nuts should be offered. 35. At the proper time, there should be arrangements so that the Lord may take rest in bed. 36. The Lord's hair should be combed and decorated. 37. First-class garments should be offered. 38. A first-class helmet should be offered. 39. The garments should be scented. 30. There should be kaustuba jewels and other ornaments offered. 41. A variety of flowers should be offered. 32. Another Mangalarati should be offered. 43. A mirror should be offered. 44. The Lord should be carried on a nice palanquin to the altar. 45. The Lord should be seated on the throne. 46. Again, water should be given for the washing of his feet. 47. Something again should be offered for eating. 48. Evening arati should be offered. 49. The Lord should be fanned with a chamara fan, and an umbrella should be placed over his head. 50. The Hare Krishna mantra and approved songs should be sung. 51. Musical instruments should be played. 52. One should dance before the deity. 53. One should circumambulate the deity. 54. One should again offer obeisances. 55. One should offer different types of prayers and hymns at the Lord's lotus feet. 56. One should touch the lotus feet of the Lord with one's head. This may not be possible for everyone, but at least the pujari should do this. 57. The flowers offered on the previous day should touch one's head. 58. One should take the remnants of the Lord's food. 59. One should sit before the Lord and think that he is massaging the Lord's legs. 60. One should decorate the Lord's bed with flowers before the Lord takes his rest. 61. One should offer one's hand to the Lord. 62. One should take the deity to his bed. 63. One should wash the feet of the Lord and then sit him on the bed. 64. One should place the Lord on the bed and then massage his feet. Arati should be offered to the deities 5 times daily, early in the morning, before sunrise, later in the morning, at noon, in the evening, and at night. This means that there should be worship and a change of dress and flowers. As far as the eatables are concerned, all items should be first-class preparations. There should be first-class rice, dal, fruit, sweet rice, vegetables, and a varieties of food to be sucked, drunk, and chewed. All the edibles offered to the deities should be extraordinarily excellent. In Europe and America, there is presently no monetary scarcity. People are not poor, and if they follow these principles of deity worship, they will advance in spiritual life. As far as placing the deity in the bed is concerned, if the deity is large and heavy, it is not possible to move him daily. It is better that a small deity, which is also worshipped, be taken to the bed. This mantra should be chanted, Agach chas shainastanam priyabi sahakeshava. O Keshava, kindly come to your bed, along with Srimati Radharani. Hari Bhakti Vilas, 1140. The deity should be placed in a bed with Srimati Radharani, and this should be indicated by bringing the wooden slippers from the altar to the bedside. When the deity is laid down, his legs should be massaged. Before laying the deity down, a pot of milk and sugar should be offered to him. After taking this thick milk, the deity should lie down, and should be offered betel nuts and spices to chew. Hare Krishna. Text 335. The characteristics of the deities should be discussed, as well as the characteristics of the Shalagram Shila. You should also discuss visiting the deities in the temple and touring holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. 336. You should glorify the holy name and explain that one must carefully give up offenses when chanting the holy name. You should also describe the symptoms of a Vaishnava and explain that one must give up or nullify all kinds of seva aparad, offenses in deity worship. Purport. The devotee should always be careful not to commit the 10 offenses when chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. If a devotee very strictly follows the methods of deity worship, he will naturally and quickly become a pure Vaishnava. A pure Vaishnava has unflinching faith in the Lord, and he does not deviate at all. He is always engaged in perfect deity worship. One should also note the specific offenses against deity worship. These are mentioned in the Skanda Purana, Avanti Kanda, spoken by Vyasadeva himself. One should liquidate all kinds of offenses. The Shalagram Shila should be worshipped with tulsi, where a sufficient quantity of tulsi leaves are available. Worship of Shalagram Shila should be introduced in all ISKCON temples. Shalagram Shila is the form of the Lord's mercy. To worship the deity with the 64 items mentioned may be a difficult job, but the Lord has become so small that anyone in any temple can carefully handle deity worship simply by performing the same activities with the Shalagram Shila. There are 32 offenses to the deity that should be avoided. 1. One should not enter the temple in a vehicle. Shoes and slippers should be removed before entering the temple. 2. One should offer obeisances as soon as he sees the deity. 3. One should enter the temple after taking a bath. In other words, one should be very clean. 4. One should not offer obeisances to the Lord with one hand. 5. One should not circumambulate demigods before the deities. 6. One should not spread his legs before the deity. 7. One should not sit down before the deity with his legs crossed, nor should one touch his legs with his hands. One should not lie down before the deity. 9. One should not eat before the deity. 10. One should not speak lies before the deity. 11. One should not speak very loudly before the deity. 12. One should not talk nonsense before the deity. 13. One should not cry before the deity. 14. One should not deal with others before the deity. 15. One should not utter harsh words before the deity. 16. One should not cover himself with a blanket. 17. One should not talk enviously of others before the deity. 18. One should not praise others before the deity. 19. One should not use slang before the deity. 20. One should not pass air before the deity. 21. One should not neglect the 64 items of deity worship. 22. One should not eat anything not offered to the deity. 23. One should not neglect offering seasonal fruits as soon as they are available. 24. One should always offer fresh, untouched fruit to the deity. 25. One should not sit with his back toward the deity. 26. One should not offer obeisances to others before the deity. 27. One should not sit near the deity without taking the spiritual master's permission. 28. One should not be proud to hear himself praised before the deity. 29. One should not blaspheme the demigods. 30. One should not be unkind to others before the deities. 31. One should observe all festivals in the temple. 32. One should not fight or quarrel before the deity. Hare Krishna. Text 337. The items of worship, such as water, conch shell, flowers, incense, and lamp, should be described. You should also mention chanting softly, offering prayers, circumambulating, and offering obeisances. All these should be carefully described. Purport. All these are mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. The 8th Vilas of that book should be consulted as far as possible. 338. Other items you should describe are the method of performing Purascharana, taking Krishna Prasadam, giving up unoffered food, and not blaspheming the Lord's devotees. Purport. Regarding the Vaishnava Ninda, see Madhya-lila 15 to 61. 339. One should describe the symptoms of a devotee, how to associate with devotees, how to satisfy a devotee by rendering service, and how to give up the association of non-devotees. You should explain the value of regularly hearing the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam 340. You should describe the ritualistic duties to be performed every day, and you should also describe the fortnightly duties, especially how to observe the fortnightly Ekadashi fast. You should also describe the duties to be observed every month. You should especially describe the observance of ceremonies like Janmastami, Ramanavami, and Nishinga Chaturdasi. 341. Ekadashi, Janmastami, Vamana Dwadashi, Ramanavami, Nishinga Chaturdashi, all these should be described. 342. You should recommend the avoidance of mixed Ekadashi and the performance of pure Ekadashi. You should describe the fault in not observing Ekadashi. One should be very careful as far as these items are concerned. If one is not careful, one will be negligent in executing devotional service. 343. Whatever you say about Vaishnava behavior, the establishment of Vaishnava temples and deities, and everything else should be supported by evidence from the Puranas. 344. You should give general and specific descriptions of the behavior and activities of a Vaishnava. You should outline things that are to be done and things that are not to be done. All this should be described as regulations and etiquette. 345. I have thus given a synopsis of the Vaishnava regulative principles. I have given this in brief just to give you a little direction. When you write on this subject, Krishna will help you by spiritually awakening you. Purport. One cannot write on spiritual matters without being blessed by Krishna and the disciplic succession of gurus. The blessings of authorities are one's power of attorney. One should not try to write anything about Vaishnava behavior and activities without being authorized by superior authorities. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarchayo viduhu. 346. Thus I have narrated Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon Sanatana Goswami. When one hears these topics, his heart will be cleansed of all contamination. Shall I repeat that? Thus I have narrated Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon Sanatana Goswami. When one hears these topics, one's heart will be cleansed of all contamination. 347. The authorized poet, Kavi Karnapur, has written a book named Caitanya-caritämrta Nataka. This book tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Sanatana Goswami with his specific mercy. 348. Srila Sanatana Goswami the elder brother of Srila Rupa Goswami, was a most important minister in the government of Hussein Shah, the ruler of Bengal, and he was considered a most brilliant gem in that assembly. He possessed all the opulences of a royal position, but he gave up everything just to accept the youthful goddess of renunciation. Although he externally appeared to be a mendicant who had renounced everything, he was filled with the pleasure of devotional service within his heart. Thus he can be compared to a deep lake covered with moss. He was the object of pleasure for all the devotees who knew the science of devotional service. Purport. This and the following two verses are from Caitanya-caritämrta Natika 9:34, 35, and 38. Text 349. As soon as Sanatana Goswami arrived in front of Lord Chaitanya, the Lord, seeing him, became merciful to him. The Lord, who has the complexion of a golden champaka flower, opened his arms and embraced him while expressing great affection. Text 350. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To enunciate explicitly those transcendental pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami with the nectar of his mercy to carry out this work in Vrindavan. 351. I have thus explained the mercy bestowed on Sanatana Goswami by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If one hears this description, all moroseness in the heart will vanish. I will repeat this verse, if it's okay. Text 351. I have explained the mercy bestowed on Sanatana Goswami by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If one hears this description, all moroseness in the heart will diminish. 352. By reading these instructions to Sanatana Goswami, one will become fully aware of Lord Krishna's various expansions and the process of devotional service according to the regulative principles and spontaneous love. Thus, everything can be fully known. By reading these instructions, a pure devotee can understand love of Krishna, the mellows of devotional service, and the conclusion of devotional service. Everyone can understand all these things to their ultimate end by studying these descriptions. The conclusion of these instructions can be known to one whose life and soul are the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu. 355. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Padi Yara Ash Caitanya-caritämrta Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, following in their footsteps. Jai Ho! Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya-lila, chapter 24, describing the Ätmäräma verse and the Lord's mercy upon Sanatana Goswami. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jai Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, Jai the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Sanatana Goswami. Good timing. It's almost 8 o'clock. We just finished this wonderful, wonderful description. And all of those of you who heard it, especially those of you who heard it all the way through, will be blessed with pure love of God. It doesn't say when, but consider it done. Now it's just a matter of time. Okay, let's hear some reflections, some comments, some discussion.
From Vilasini Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vilasini Devi Dasi, I assume you're in New Vrindavan.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj. It was so amazing listening to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his instructions to Sanatana Goswami about Hari Bhakti Vilas. All these details about deity worship makes me feel so fortunate and grateful to Srila Prabhupada and my dear Guru Maharaj, whom by their mercy I have the opportunity to try to serve the Lord in the form of the Archa Vigraha.
Nice. Very wonderful.
She goes on to say, I remember back in the days we used to study all these details from Nectar of Devotion and from Srila Prabhupada quotes to avoid offenses to the deities and the devotees, but nowadays it is different. I see the lacking of interest by the authorities and devotees to train ashram devotees or any other devotees who come to the temple about all these details that help us develop our love for Krishna. Like you mentioned yesterday when you were asked about how we develop love to the spiritual master, you responded by serving, and when we love someone, we want to know more about that person.
Yes.
So all of us are here to learn more about Krishna and develop this dormant love. Maharaj, for that reason, I'm so grateful to you for your readings, because in my busy schedule as a mom, it is hard for me to read in a systematic way.
This is reading in a systematic way. This is reading in a systematic way. Reading page by page, page after page, systematically, all the way, cover to cover, through the book. That is systematic reading. It's true that there's other ways of studying, but this is the method that is recommended highly by Srila Prabhupada. Systematic reading means reading daily, straight through the book, from beginning to end. And when you get through, start again. And you get through, start again, and keep doing this for the rest of our lives. And if we do that, for sure, we will assimilate enough to be able to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. We shouldn't think that everyone has to do everything. There's different places in Prabhupada's books where he says that, not like we heard just now, not everyone may be able to put their head on the feet of the deity. Because only pujaris can touch the body of the deities. Only brahmanas and persons who have been given that service by the spiritual master. So it's not that every single one of these rules and regulations have to be followed by everyone. Otherwise, they're not properly situated in devotional service. No. Prabhupada said that if we think that the person who is cleansing the floor and the person who is dressing the deity, one is higher and one is lower, then we haven't understood devotional service. Everything connected to the deity is not different from the deity, including the floors and the walls and every room in the temple and the kitchen, every place, even our living quarters. They should be kept in such a way as they are just like the deity room, everything in its place, everything Vaikuntha clean, no dirt, no dust, no. So it's hard to keep that standard of living. The Vaishnava temples where the deities are, major temples especially, where the deities are maintained in such Raj Bhog style, kingly style. It's difficult in the West particularly to maintain, because hardly anyone has a natural sense from being raised in a culture in which this is the natural center of life. The Westerners think it's primitive or, childlike or whatever. But yes, there's a place in one of Prabhupada's purports where he does talk about the Hari Bhakti Vilas and puts it into proper perspective for us. He says that in that time, the extreme following of regulated principles, which are embodied by the Smarta Brahmanas, was very prominent. And some of the things that are contained in the Hari Bhakti Vilas are catering to those persons, to those devotees, so that the book will not lose stature of its reputation. But still, the deity should be, as much as possible, worshipped with all these items, and if not 64 all the time, as many times as possible. That's why, if you remember, in part of that deity worship section, it said that at least at the time of the installation of the deities, all 64 items should be offered. I mean, in Goloka Vrindavan, they worship Krishna with a festival every time he goes out and every time he comes back from the forest, from the pasturing grounds. Goes out with his cowherd boys, with the cows, and they play all kinds of games, take care of the cows and calves, and then come back. And when they come back, they have a huge festival. It's like Janmashtami every day. When we do one Janmashtami, it's like we're wiped out for 3 or 4 days. But in spiritual world, it's not like that, because in spiritual world, none of the energy is made of matter. It's not that you have to lug it around and fashion it in a certain way. Everything there is conscious, and everything wants to serve Krishna, and everyone wants to serve Krishna. Therefore, this is practice, to do these things in a systematic way, daily. Like we have our very simple altar here. They're just photos, but we clean every day. We keep it fragrant with burning nice fragrant oil, and food is offered every day. But we can't do the same level of deity worship as you read about in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, at least in the temple. But we do the best we can. We have our Mangalartik before sun rises, and we say prayers and read the Bhagavad Gita and discuss the Bhagavad Gita. And in the evening we read Caitanya-caritämrta like this in front of the deities. And like this, especially the deities of Gaur-Nitai are so merciful that if you just chant Hare Krishna with ecstatic kirtan in front of the deities, they're satisfied. But Radha and Krishna deity worship requires all of these things, because it's so intimate, and to be in the association of Radha and Krishna is very intimate, and therefore one must be a very, very elevated soul to do that. Therefore Prabhupada told us that our temple deity worship, even though it is Radha Krishna worship, is done in the mood in general of Lakshmi Narayan, in the mood of opulence. And it's stressed so that we do not prematurely develop too intimate a sense of intimacy with the deities before we're actually qualified. And the rules and regulations are meant to bring us to that stage of consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Next is something from Bhakta Charlie.
Hey, Bhakta Charlie, Haribo, how's the marathon going?
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada. I was wondering, sometimes when we are reading, I really don't understand what we are reading at all, but it still feels so right and brings me so much happiness. Yet I don't understand what I'm reading. Why does that happen?
Well, because we require different levels of qualification to hear different things. But as you so nicely pointed out, even if you can't understand, the quality of the sound enters your heart and wakes you up. I'll give you an example. When Prabhupada did Janmashtami in, I think it was Japan, maybe Tokyo, one Janmashtami, he just happened to be there in his travels during Janmashtami. So there was only a few devotees, and this was early on. So there wasn't a lot of deity worship like we have now. At least in Japan, there was nothing. So we had them bring in the book, 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, because he hadn't written all of his books yet. But for Janmashtami, he brought out the Sanskrit version of the Bhagavatam that he used to use to translate and comment. And he started reading. And the devotees, a couple of them started to leave. Prabhupada said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, Prabhupada, we can't understand the Sanskrit, so we're going to go do another service for Krishna." And he said, no, you sit down and hear the pastimes of Krishna. And even if you don't understand them, the sound will purify your heart. And as soon as he said that, they sat down and they started to hear, and they all felt complete ecstasy, even though they couldn't understand the words. Anyway, it's not exactly the same, because we can understand the English. We just don't understand or can't conceive of what it all means. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada stressed, as we talked about before, that the systematic reading of the books is to read them again and again, over and over, until gradually the knowledge which is already there in the heart is awakened. This is not knowledge that is forced into our system that wasn't there before. The knowledge is in the heart, with the soul. And it is awakened by transcendental sound and transcendental activities. So even if we don't know everything, even if we don't understand everything, if we do with sincerity and without ulterior motives, hear, especially important to hear, gradually that knowledge will awaken within our hearts, because it's already there. Hare Krishna.
Charlie says, "That's amazing, thank you."
Hare Krishna.
There's a comment from Bhakta Ben.
Haribo Bhakta Ben.
He says, "Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Sorry I missed the reading today. I'll catch up tomorrow. Made a big tactical move for the marathon and been driving most of the day. Wish me luck."
Good luck, Bhakta Charlie. You'll do it. Just the attempt, just to try to do it, brings you to a very high level by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. And just as I was saying today to Abhay, Prabhupada told us, give us your youthful energy and do this. When you get old like me, you can't go out and do those same things anymore. I mean, maybe there's some rare exceptions, but generally, people who are 75 or over, they don't have that much physical energy to do those kinds of things anymore. But we do them in a different way, by hearing and chanting and answering questions and writing letters, and in so many ways try to encourage the devotees in their devotional lives, especially in hearing and chanting, distributing Prabhupada's books. So don't feel discouraged, even if you can't understand. Simply go on hearing with faith and love and without argument. That means have faith that these things are true, and just hear as if they were absolutely true, and gradually Krishna will be attracted to you and you will understand everything. Hare Krishna.
And there's a question from Champaklata Radhika Devi Dasi.
Okay, Champalaka Radhika Devi Dasi.
She says, "Hare Krishna Maharaj, at home can you worship Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani in front of the deity?"
Yes. They're very dear. Tulsi Maharani is very dear to Krishna, to Radha and Krishna. Therefore, why can't you worship them in front of them? She might not be comfortable being worshipped in front of the deities. So therefore, usually Tulsi Puja is done after the curtain is closed in the temple room. Not because Radha and Krishna will be upset, but because Tulsi Devi is very, very shy, and she, to worship her in front of Radha and Krishna, that makes her feel uncomfortable. And in general, we shouldn't offer obeisances to others in front of the deities of Radha and Krishna. That's a general instruction. Hare Krishna.
A comment from Yadutama.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Hare Krishna, Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Prabhupada. It is so wonderful hearing about Archana and the mercy Srila Prabhupada gave Western body devotees, giving them the opportunity to engage in Archana.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then a question from Vilasini, Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vilasini.
She says, Maharaj, we can also offer things to the Lord using the mind, right? When I offer bhoga to my deities, I offer it without tulsi leaves because I don't have Tulsi Maharani at home. But in my mind, I meditate the tulsi leaves are in each preparation.
Yes. That's very nice. Yes, the mind is also material energy, and if you can visualize, if you're fortunate enough to be able to visualize, not everyone can visualize like that, but if you're fortunate enough, advanced enough to visualize the form of the deity and do deity puja like that, then it's the same, exactly the same, no different. The form of the Lord in the mental energy or painting or even the pixels on your computer when you have them set up to be able to see the photos, that's also not different than the Lord. What to speak of the deities in the temple. They should be considered not different than Krishna and treated as such. And that's what all the regulations are for. The regulations are to exhibit the level of respect and reverence that are needed to actually, and etiquette needed to come close to Radha and Krishna. Luckily for us, Gornitai, they're very, very liberal, and they don't accept offenses. So therefore, we always chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra before we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, so that we'll be able to avoid offenses against the Mahamantra.
Anandamurti Devi Dasi.
Anandamurti, Haribol, Hare Krishna.
She says, yes, I understand that hearing is very important. Your servant, Anandamurti Devi.
Thank you very much, Anandamurti.
And Stella Herzig.
Yes, Shraddhanjali, Devi Dasi, the better half of Kalachandji Prabhu.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Shraddhanjali, Hari Bol.
And Champak Lata Radhika Devi Dasi says, thank you for guiding me.
Hare Krishna. I thank you very much, everyone. This is very nectarian. It's a very special day. We've heard the instructions of Sanatana Goswami in full of the Caitanya-caritämrta. And anybody who hears the whole thing becomes purified and more qualified to worship Krishna and to awaken his relationship with Krishna or her relationship with Krishna. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samabeda Bhakta Binda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same station, same subject matter. Transcendental bliss of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's service. Hare Krishna.